Welcome, everybody, to the Fantasy Football War Room podcast. I'm your host, James, and with me I have Nick,
How's it going, everybody?
Frank,
Hey now.
Chris,
Pronto.
and Sam.
I've been big ever since I was little.
Every linebacker in the league.
But no, it wasn't a linebacker, it was
Oh.
a lineman. And this lineman actually scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
That's got to be the fridge.
You got it, William the Refrigerator Perry.
WrestleMania 2.
It's always with wrestling.
He was there. The Battle Royal.
So let's actually go into what we're here for. All right, let's get into the rookie wide receivers. At number 5, so now we're getting into our top 5, and again, I just want to stress that this list was hard for us to put together. Aside from the number 1, none of us really agreed on where these guys should be. Some had, 5 at number 2, some had this, like it was just all over. So these guys project well, most of them, so it's definitely deep, but let's get into our top 5. So Rondale Moore out of Purdue, 5'9", 180 pounds. He finished with 1,915 yards and 14 touchdowns. His last year there, he only played in 3 games, but we'll let the guys talk about it. So what do you guys have on Moore?
Yeah, Rondale Moore is one of the most naturally skilled receivers in this year's class. He's an elusive playmaker who's special in space. He's a powerful, fast runner who puts up highlight plays every game. His movement is exceptional, not only as a route runner, but when he has to improvise. He plays like he's in a video game. He's been called a human joystick by many people. He's extremely versatile and can be used in so many different ways. He'll have play callers just dialing up plays and just designing schemes for him, just to utilize all of his amazing skills. His run after the catch ability is insane. He's an innovator as a runner, and he's extremely difficult to tackle. Defenders can't afford to give him any space, as once he's up to speed, there's no catching him. He's got the ability to break ankles. He's got the ability to change direction immediately. And he can create space when there isn't any. The main critique about him is his size. He's a little bit small, but he just won't have the height that a lot of teams would be looking for in the NFL. He's had his fair share of injuries in Purdue, a few knee injuries, and a hammy that's been coming back very often, which worries me a little bit. I don't know if he'll be durable in the NFL. I hope he is, because he's special to watch. Draft projection, I got him late first round, early second round. Just because of his maybe his size might drop him a bit. He's definitely worthy of a first pick to me. I think it would be a wonderful fit for a team that runs a West Coast offense, like Frank Reich has installed in Indy. And now that the Colts have traded Carson Wentz, I think they should be using their number 21 pick on him if he's still there.
Ooh.
Spicy,
I like that.
I think if he does end up on the Colts, I think he could be a big part of that offense. He probably would be, if I'm not sure what's going on with Ty, but he could be the number 2 guy there, at least by the end of the next year. So I think he would be viable as a fantasy wide receiver next year.
Yeah, I'm a big Moore guy. I think my ideal landing spot would be Green Bay for Rondale. I would love to see Rondale in Green Bay.
Not me.
At least twice a year.
Did you guys see the, is it an Instagram picture? I can't remember what it was, but they showed him. He looks huge, like jacked. It's like,
He's a good
I was
shape.
just like, wow, that's a big boy coming in, even though he's not as tall as he's supposed to be. But that's so I've seen him on draft boards as high as 2
Really?
in wide receiver rankings. So I mean, right behind Chase, I've seen him up there. So it's just a matter of which guy likes who. Look at last year. I mean, Ruggs was probably not the number 1 guy on anyone's list, and yet he went before everybody else.
It's a scheme fit thing, right? Like, I mean, depending on who's up on the board, and if that player fits the scheme, he's going to go a little higher, right?
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, but he's definitely going to be a weapon for someone, that's for sure. Yeah. So at number 4, another guy who's going to be a weapon, Rashod Bateman out of Minnesota, 6'2", 210 pounds. In his 3 years there, he finished with 2,395 yards and 19 touchdowns. What do you guys have on Bateman?
Yeah, so like you said, I mean, all these like 5 to at least 2 can go kind of anyway, and with Rashod Bateman, it's in that same type of skill where he honestly, we have him at 4, but he could definitely be higher. He doesn't have the elite traits that some of those top wide receivers has, and he's not like specially skilled in any of these traits. But what he is he has skill and talent in a lot of traits, and he's good in most traits. So that's why it makes him different, is that he's good at a lot of different things, where some of these higher end receivers only have they're really skilled in certain traits. But Rashod Bateman, he's got it all almost. He's really good with his route running. He has great hands. He goes towards the ball. He doesn't wait for it. He's got a quick release off the line, and he's super athletic. So, I mean, all good traits that you want for a wide receiver. He has the classic skill set, again, like I said with Seth Williams, he has the classic skill set to be a great, excellent X receiver in the NFL, basically a wide-out receiver. So he can win those one-on-ones on the outside. He can defeat press coverages at the line of scrimmage. He wins those contested catches, making it more of like an 80-20% chance of getting that ball. And when he catches the ball, he makes things happen after the catch. So that's why he's really, really skilled at all these different things. Draft outlook for him, I got him going early to mid first round. Definitely one of the top 5 receivers taken easily. Could be anywhere from 1 to 3 as well. Does he outbeat Chase in that kind of a draft? I don't think so. I think Chase still goes 1, but I definitely could see him taking over as the number 2 wide receiver taken. He can definitely jump in anywhere in the NFL right now, especially on a team that needs a better wide receiver, and he can jump in as that top guy right now and take that job and be a solid fantasy option for you right away. A lot of player comparisons that I got from him is he's a Kenny Golladay and Michael Thomas type of a player. He has the ideal build and size, the strength to incorporate tons of skill into the game. He's versatile to play as an X receiver or a slot guy like Michael Thomas, where he can take high volume passes. And I mean, honestly, if he finds a good quarterback, a legit quarterback, and he finds the right spot, he could be a monster in the NFL. So I definitely have Rashod Bateman as a high wide receiver that I'm looking to get.
Yeah, no, he's another one. Like I said, I've seen him on draft boards go. I've actually seen 1 or 2 of them where they take him over Chase. So it all depends, again, the need. I know, Chris, I saw your eyes there. But it all depends on the need. But yeah, he's definitely skilled, and I like how you put that, where he's well balanced across the board rather than just something specific. So it'll be fun to see where he goes as well. With that, we'll go to number 3. Some might think this is a little low for this guy. Some might think it's a little high for this guy. But number 3, DeVonta Smith out of Alabama, 6'1", 175 pounds, the 2020 Heisman winner. He was just unbelievable in college for the last 2 seasons. He finished with 3,965 yards and 45 touchdowns. Who is talking about Smith? Go ahead.
I got Smith here. DeVonta had an electric year last year, which ultimately led to him as being the first wide receiver to win the Heisman in 100 years. That's amazing. He's going to go down as one of the greatest college wide receivers to ever play the game. In most fantasy circles, DeVonta is being predicted as the first wide receiver taken off the board. His route running is polished, and his understanding on how to use his vision and feet to get open is second to none. The thing for me for DeVonta is his size at the next level. Coming in at 6'1" and just 175 pounds, his body dimensions are already maxed out as both his upper and lower half when you really dive into the numbers, which tells me that there isn't much more room to growth. A lot of my cohorts here have said, all he's got to do is add size. He'll be okay. He'll be all right. But according to his measurables, like he's maxed out. If he gets more size by putting out weight, he's just going to lose speed, and then he's not as dynamic of a wide receiver as he is. And in his size, it shows. It shows in his blocking, and it shows with his time without the ball. NFL wide receivers, they're asked to do more than just catch the ball. They're asked to be all-around good players. And if you can't block as a wide receiver, as a running back, as a tight end, it's really going to cut into your snap percentage. And where you're gonna pick DeVonta based on his ADP as that first or second wide receiver taken off the board, you're gonna end up, to me, being disappointed. I'm not willing to spend that draft capital on DeVonta Smith. I'd rather draft a Diami Brown in a late third. I'd rather draft an Elijah Moore. I'd rather draft a Rashod Bateman. Give me Rondale Moore all day over DeVonta Smith. Like I said, in the college, he's gonna go down as one of the greatest wide receivers to play college football. At the next level, I just don't think he's gonna succeed. He's not gonna get enough playing time, one, and he's not gonna match up well against elites. Big NFL wide receivers that can move fast, and like I said on the last, DBs that can move fast, and like I said on the last episode, they're not wide receivers because they just don't have hands. So if you're gonna pick DeVonta Smith, pick him. He's gonna end up on these lower end teams. So one of these lower end teams don't necessarily have a good quarterback. So pick him at your own peril. But if he flops, just remember to come back and say you were right, Chris.
Well, I could see it that way. If he's going to end up on a lower end team with a bad quarterback, I could see him definitely having a problem. But as far as his durability, I think it's important to note that the level of training that he got at Alabama, they got one of the best strength and conditioning staffs in all of college. Like, they even rival some NFL teams, I think. They were known for their fourth quarter program, which it centers them around developing players physically and for the grueling moments of the game, and it prepares them for the last 50 minutes of a game. And there's an emphasis on speed and power while focusing on injury prevention. And he's had no injury concerns at Alabama. And with this type of high-level training, you can bet that he's in the best condition to succeed. I think if they saw a need for him to be 185, 190 pounds, I think they could have got there. They got a really good program there.
But he can't get there. He's maxed out.
Physically.
I don't think...
Physically, he can't get there.
I think if they wanted to get him there, they could have. If any program could have, it was Alabama's. I think they saw what he can do, and they're okay with him playing at that level. And if they didn't see him at that level, at that weight, I think they would have done something.
He's perfect for Alabama, perfect for the scheme. NFL...
Some big boys out there. No, I agree with you. I like him, but I also agree with Chris. I think that at 170, he's going to get smashed out there. Like, I think it's a different level of playing, and it's a different type of player on the field, man. Those are men. You're not playing against kids in college, right? Like, and there's some big boys out there, and they're going to go after you, right? So maybe you're right, Frank. Maybe, the durability, and he's just one of those kids that doesn't get hurt, but he better be careful out there because he gets clipped by a couple of those linebackers. He's going to have some problems.
Yeah, injury wasn't a big part of the reason why I'm not going to draft him. It's more his size, his snap percentage, and really his ADP. I'm not going to draft him at the second wide receiver. I'm not going to draft him at 1.7, 1.5. I wouldn't even draft him as the first wide receiver. To me is just not something that I'm willing to do. Draft him as a second. Yeah. Personally, I have him back on the list later. According to just fantasy producers. If you can't block in the NFL just because you're
sitting on the bench,
you're not going to get playing time. It's just what it is, and it shows on film that his pass block is not that great because of his size.
Yeah,
he's not going to get any bigger unless he goes on James's Chips Ahoy diet.
The one thing
that's a good diet. Okay, hold on. Hey,
it's a tasty diet, but he does have a good first step, right? So I think when he's matched up against these guys, he can definitely get separation, right? And I think once he's in the open field, I just worry about him even hanging on to the ball. If you're gonna get hit in an open field by some of these guys, You better hang on tight. Like
Yeah.
it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see. I think he's a dynamic kid. He could do really well. Like if he fits in the right scheme and he's just careful and keeps his head on a swivel, I guess he should be fine.
Yeah, he's my rookie bust based on fantasy production. I'm not saying that he's not going to produce, but based on his ADP and where you're going to draft him, I just don't think it's
He's overvalued,
going to be worth it. Yeah, that's it. That's
Yeah,
all.
it's going to end
my
up. Depends on where you end,
take.
like who's you got thrown to him. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But they don't call him the
Well-
Slim Reaper for nothing.
You just like the name, Frank. I think more than anything, it's like
Yeah.
it fits
I might
within
start
the whole
using it for
wrestling
myself.
thing.
He stole it from Kevin Durant, but that's a story for another episode.
Well, I mean, the one thing I could say, if he does get drafted in the first round, which is where he's projected, and they're saying number 2 possibly to the, I'm hearing the Jets, I'm hearing to Philly, I'm hearing to the Lions. I mean, he's put on every single team in that top 15 range there, it looks like. He's going to get a lot of playing time to see if that actually happens. So you don't draft this guy number 1 in that top round and then not play him
Sit
just
him,
because he's
yeah.
not blocking. So he's going to play. But if
will.
we'll see. Well, and then the problem is if it's the Jets or one of those teams that aren't very good, like you said, how much is he going to get the ball if he can't play? So it'll be interesting to see.
That's the key.
We'll have to readjust as we go. And after the draft happens, we will go over these guys again to let you know what we think and see if we were close and if we're still at the same pace of what they were. So, but let's get into our next one. At number 2, Jaylen Waddle out of Alabama. 5'10", 182 pounds. He finished with 1,999 yards and 17 touchdowns. What do you have on Waddle?
Yeah, no doubt. Alabama's had its share of playmakers over the past few seasons, and he's one of the best. His greatest strength is his ability to run after the catch. Once the ball's in his hands, he has great vision as a ball carrier, and he's got the necessary speed and quickness and agility to make defenders miss. Helped him to be a great returner at Alabama. Uses his speed to get past defenders, even after they know what route he's running. And he's paired with a true deep NFL passer, he can do some real damage. His speed's among the best in the draft class, and it helps him in the run after the catch mostly, and on those deep balls. He's got the acceleration to get to his top speed, which is really high, very quickly. And a lot of his success getting open is because of play design and his speed. He ran a lot of different routes at Alabama, but he needs to make sure he runs a little bit crisper routes. He has the speed, agility, and quickness to be a devastating route runner if he works on it. I see him as a top 20 guy in the NFL draft. A fit that I see would be Miami. I think obviously they'd be crazy to take him number 3 overall, but if they trade up a bit from 18, I think he'd be a solid decision. He might even fall to 18. I know CeeDee Lamb fell to 17 last year, so it's not impossible. I think he has the traits to be better in the NFL than he was in college, which is saying something. And I think he'll be an incredible chess piece for their offense and a weapon for Tua that he can count on to make plays. As far as a comparison, a lot of people compare it to Tyreek Hill, which people are saying that about a lot of guys this year. But my comparison for him is more of a combination of the other top 3 Alabama guys in the past. I think he's got Jerry Jeudy's route running ability. And you put them together, he's got Ruggs' deep threat ability and DeVonta Smith's elite technical craft. So there's a bit of all those guys rolled up into one.
All right. Yeah, it'll be good to see where he goes. I've seen him on draft boards, obviously lower than the other guys. We have him a little higher because of stuff like that. We've seen a little bit of tape on him too, and I've seen him sneak into the top rounds, and I've seen him go to the Patriots. I've seen him go to a few teams as well. So whoever gets him will definitely have a gem for themselves, and to go from there. But that brings us to our number 1. He's been number 1 for I think a few years now. That when this draft was coming. Jamar Chase out of LSU, 6 foot, 208 pounds. He only played 2 years there. In those 2 years, he had 2,093 yards and 23 touchdowns, most of that coming in 2019. He opted out in 2020, but he's still there at number 1 on a lot of boards. What do you guys have on Chase?
I mean, I could go into, what Chase is super good at and all these traits that makes him the number 1 guy and why he's our number 1 and why he's at the top of the list, but I don't think I really need to do that. I mean, we all know the type of player Jamar Chase is. We saw it. We know what he's done. We saw what he did with Burrow. We saw what kind of a wide receiver this guy is. He's skilled all over the field. He's got all the traits needed to be a high-end wide receiver in the NFL, and I don't see any of that stopping. And if he gets even more development in the NFL with any team that he goes to, he's just going to be excelled into an even better guy that we've already seen and take it to another level. Some of the biggest comparisons I got him to is Kenny Golladay. I've seen an Amari Cooper, an Amari Cooper, but a bigger and a better Amari Cooper. Size-wise, they were saying that he's kind of similar to what a Jerry Jeudy looks like, but the thing is with Jerry Judy's more of a slimmer guy. With Jamar Chase, he has that weight and he carries it well and he uses it well. So he's a stronger, more built type of Jerry Jeudy style. Kenny Golladay wise, he's dominant in the jump ball. He's a dominant jump ball receiver who turns 50-50 plays into 80-20 plays. So anytime he's going up for that ball, he's normally coming down with it. He's got great hands. He hardly drops any balls. Big things that you want to see in a receiver. He has the weight to pass block like we've been talking about, so he can stay on the field no matter what's happening, no matter what situation they're playing, no matter what scheme. He'll fit pretty much any type of scheme in the NFL. He can also be used as a wideout, as a slot guy. He has different variables in his game that make him elusive in any type of situation. Another different comparison that I got for him was Victor Cruz, actually, but not the undrafted Victor Cruz when he just came into the league, but when he was stunning and he was good, he put up those great years, those years of Victor Cruz where he's an elite deep threat, catching the ball down the middle and making yards out of it and causing trouble for defense. That type of a player is what you're going to see with Jamar Chase. But the problem is he does need to go to a team that has a type of scheme and playbook where they're going for deeper throws. So they want to be on a team that's going for a longer, 20 to plus yard scenarios where he can make the deep threat and be that deep tight style wide receiver. He's obviously the number one wide receiver. Some of these other guys have some great comparables, but I still think if I'm going for a wide receiver with the most potential to be dominant in the NFL in any of my drafts, I'm going to go Jamar Chase just because I think the way he's built, the skills he has, he's going to be the main guy. He's going to be a fantasy dominant player for years to come, and I just want him on my lineup anytime I can, any way I can. So definitely he's in the first round. He's going to be taken in the first round, probably in the actual NFL draft as well. And I just don't see much that will limit Jamar Chase's potential to be a great fantasy outlook throughout his years.
I'm hyped for Chase.
I'm glad you told us you didn't have a lot to tell us about him because you did say a heck of a lot in that little bit there.
Not so much, but a lot.
But yes, you hit everything. He's the guy. That's why we have him at 1. And I'm seeing a lot of him to the Lions, which
I hope he falls too.
I don't like that because if I don't want to hear Frank as happy as I know he'll be when he goes there. But yeah. So we'll have to see. But that's our list of wide receivers. That finishes it there. We do have one more person we're going to talk about. And, wait, Chris, sorry, do you want to say something?
I have an honorable mention.
You can't mention yourself. That's not allowed.
I drafted him.
This is a guy, sorry, James, just as a guy I've been trying to get off Nick and Sam for quite some time now.
No kidding.
If you taking a chance on a wide receiver and you're looking for a steal late in your drafts, look for the name Warren Jackson, wide receiver out of Colorado State, 6'6", 225 pounds. Had a dominant 2019. His numbers kind of rival Jamar Chase's numbers, and he played less games. He didn't play 2020. His durability is a bit of an issue. But if you can find this guy in your draft, you're going to get a steal in your late rookie draft rounds. So just an honorable mention there. Warren Jackson, wide receiver, Colorado State.
Just taking
I'd
all our
say his,
secrets.
I would say his price just went up, right, Nick?
No, you're really not
he really. We'll talk.
That's okay. That was a good honorable mention and a good reason to interrupt. So we'll let that one slide.
We'll allow it.
But yes, so the last player we're going to talk about, I mean, he could be a wide receiver. He would probably be in the top 2 if he was a wide receiver. But he's a tight end. He's going to go as the number 1 tight end. He should go in the first round. That is Kyle Pitts out of Florida, 6'6", 246 pounds. He finished with 1,492 yards and 18 touchdowns. A lot of that came in the last year there. What do you have on Pitts?
So there are tight ends in this draft class, and then there's Pitts, right? Like, so basically, he's the only one we talked about is the only one worth talking about, and that's because he's in the league of his own, essentially. Like, he's huge, and he uses his size really, really well. Philly native, he was a former quarterback, and he actually transitioned experimentally to the tight end position, and obviously it worked out well for him. But he's definitely a guy that you want on your team when the ball is in the air in the end zone. He's got size, he's got strength, he's got amazing hands. And because of this, he's got like the ability to bring that ball home. And because of his size, he's got a crazy catch radius too. So he could cover a lot of ground in the end zone. For a big guy, he's pretty speedy actually. He's not that bad. He's got really, really good route running ability as well. And he's got some good moves off the line too. He could definitely break some ankles. He could definitely find that separation. When you have him in your line, like, I mean, even if you're facing this guy, how do you line up against him, right? Press, no problem. Speed, no problem. Routes, super clean, as I said. Size, when you match up against him and you have this guy this size, just the guys on the line are basically bigger than he is, right? Like, so he's going to outmuscle a lot of these kids, and get that ball home. He's got really good football IQ. He's got what it takes to be an elite player. He's super versatile. He run blocks well. And James, you mentioned, that he's going to go high. I think he's definitely going to be one of those guys that is going to go early in the round. One of his downsides, I think, if there is one really, is top end speed, right? He doesn't necessarily have that sustained speed. If you watch his film, he does get caught from behind an open field by some of these speedier guys. But he's not built for top end speed either, right? So, I mean, he's been compared to a Waller, but I think it's hard to compare him to anyone because he's all on his own as far as I'm concerned. I'm really high on this kid. I think that he's going to do really well in a really super rich like class of wide receivers. I think, like you said, James, he's probably like number 2 or number 3. If you had to put him on the board comparing him to the other guys in this draft class, he's up there. Should be on everybody's radar. He's definitely going to go early, and he's got the potential to be one of those Travis Kelce type guys, to get you those 15 to 20 points a game. He's going to get the looks in the end zone. And as far as a rookie goes, I'm going to predict he's probably going to be the top, if not the top, one of the top PPR point leaders for rookies in this whole draft class.
Nice. Yeah. I like most people probably have him and Chase going one-on-one between the receiving wise. We'll see if any running backs can, get in there or a quarterback. But yeah, he'll be definitely, I think, in the running. So, but yeah. Well, that's our show. We went through our top 10 wide receivers. We went through our only tight end, and I hope that's enough information for you guys for these upcoming drafts. Again, once they are drafted, we will go through these things again just to see if we're close on what we say or if we change our priority of where these people are going to land or how they're going to do in fantasy. But please follow us on Instagram at the Fantasy Football War Room. But thanks for listening and have a good night.
Peace.
Sam, can you name me a tight end that won't get caught in the open field?
That's true. That's my point, right? They're not built that way, but he's pretty good.
Have a good night.
Take care.